And welcome back, everyone, to Box Office Report today on the 17th of November, 2024. We are rapidly getting towards the end of the year here. Holy crap. And now we're just going to have like big release after big release kind of coming out. We got Wicked and Gladiator 2 coming out this week. But we're talking about this week or this weekend. And Red One, not surprisingly, comes in with 34 point some odd $1 million in its opening weekend, which is right around where they said it was going to come. Venom Last Dance, again, not surprisingly, made it to the number 2 spot, $7.3 million, dropping only a little above 50%. Good for it. Best Christmas Pageant Ever made another $5.4 million, dropping under 50%, 49.9. Heretic made another $5.1 million, only taking 52. Honestly, it's a good movie. And The Wild Robot manages to hang in there for one more weekend in the top 5 with $4.3 million. Red One. Okay, I talked about this and honestly into some length in the review, but seeing as this is the box office report and this is where we're supposed to be talking about this, it behooves me to again repeat my points. A $34 million opening weekend for any big budget film would be bad. Even if this film was made on $100 million, which is not, it would still not be a good number. It'd be a far better number. It's over a third of its budget, but it would not be a good start. This film is made on $250 million. Now, that's because they apparently went over budget. The original budget was about $200 million. And that does seem to make sense in my head because the marketing budget I couldn't find, but was not large on this film. I only remember seeing like two different variations on the same trailer, the M&M spot they did on TV, and obviously TV spots. But I mean, 50 to 75 million, 80 million is not an unreasonable idea. Specifically because they say this film has to hit about 500 million to break even, which if you do the math, 250, $80 million, that brings it up to 330. If you just do the math on that real quick, that means half of that is about 165. Add it on, that's like 140, 495. So yeah, about 500 million is what it would have to make. 80 million sounds about right. But that means even if this film were made, it had its normal budget of 200 million, it still would have to hit almost 450 million to break even. This film isn't coming close to that. Not even close to that. This film, and it's all said and done, is going to be lucky to see 200 million. This is one of the biggest bombs of the year. So that didn't get good critical reception. It did not get good. It's not going to be making a lot of money. The only thing I can maybe say could save it is the audience reception. What was the audience reception like? This has a lower score than Venom does. Venom. But no, it literally has a lower score than Venom 3 does. And Venom 3 has like a 41%. It has, since we're here now, let's see, where are we? 33% for the Red One, but an 89 audience score, which is good. That's good. like no joke, an 89 audience score is solid. Whereas Venom is like 41 versus 81. So more critics liked Venom, but less audiences liked it versus less audiences liked Red One. But in fact, it is actually a perfect trade-off. It's an 8% swing in both directions. So if this film has any legs, first off, if it has any legs, if it has any legs, it's got to be internationally. Its film can't make its money back domestically at all. This film will be lucky to see 80 million. It's 84 million right now worldwide. It's going to be lucky to see 84 million domestically. So I guess first, what are the problems that happened here? Well, one, you spend way too much fucking money. Even if you were on the $200 million budget, kept to that, it'd still be too much. Watching what I watched, I made the comparison in my review, and I stand by it. This stood out to me more like around the Godzilla X Kong New Empire budget, somewhere between like 130 and 150, I believe, is what it was kind of averaged out to. So somewhere in like the 140 range. With the amount of visual effects, it still was going to be kind of heavy. But yeah, I don't. 200 million. I believe it's $7 production company who The Rock's production company who did this, did not see where the money was on the screen here. I mean, I saw a lot of money, but 200 million? Ugh. And honestly, you could have probably gotten away. You could have cut some scenes, could have cut the budget down. It did not need to be that expensive. But even if it had been 140 and you had an $80 million marketing budget on there, that means this film still said 330 million. Like I said, I didn't think this film's going to be lucky to see 200. So right out the gate, it's way too expensive. I think we've waned on The Rock a little bit. The Rock is still a great personality. He's still got a lot of charisma. He's still very charming. He's still very entertaining and still pulling a crowd. But I think the magic of The Rock has kind of waned in recent history. So just because some of his on-set behavior has been becoming a little bit questionable, his attitude, peeing in bottles, all that. But and also, I think we are long since past the day where a single movie star can save a movie, can push a movie over the edge into a profitable rate. Like, if they alone can sell the movie. Sadly, that's just, it's not the case anymore. But beyond that, the reviews didn't help. Look, the critic reviews are just that. They are just reviews. And the critics are just like us. They are movie fans. They just do it for a living. They tend to be journalists or whatever. But, we shouldn't take them as gospel, but they still influence the public opinion. And unfortunately, the public opinion is where the dollars come from. Beyond that, though, it didn't look like, the most original film in the world. It's not, which probably turns some people off. It's going into the Christmas season, but it's not like it's going into the Christmas season with no competition. If this film had no competition whatsoever out right now for the next 2 weeks, or out previously or whatever, there could have been a road to success here. It would have been a very narrow road with a lot of bumps and turns and winds and a couple potholes in there, but it could have happened. But the fact is, you debuted this directly before the possible next Barbenheimer, which is Glicked, I think they're calling it. Gladiator Wicked. What's the other one you could call it? Wicked Wickiator? Actually, Wickiator's not bad. But Glicked, the next possible Barbenheimer coming out. So, yeah, now granted, I know for a fact you had to put this out somewhere between now and Christmas. That's just the way it had to be. And the problem beyond that is that they couldn't have done it next week because you got Moana coming out next week, and that's going to kill it at the box office. Then you're going to have Sonic the Hedgehog, Mufasa, a couple other major ones coming out. Like, it just... I think honestly, this was made in the wrong year. If this were made, like, say, last year, if I remember correctly, we didn't have a huge amount of, like, successes in the December season. Like, you had, I think, Avatar came out last year, if I remember correctly. And, why don't we just get ourselves another box office report up here, or box office up here? It's like, okay, worldwide, what was last year? What did that look like? Hold on. So last year was Barbie, Super Mario Bros., Oppenheimer, Guardians, Fast X, Across the Spider-Verse, Wonka, that came out during Christmas, and that was well received during Christmas. Little more, but here's the thing: everything I'm looking at, like, legit, it, quite frankly, there was nothing except for Wonka coming out strong for the holidays last year. Like, I'm trying to remember everything here. Super Mario Brothers was April, Oppenheimer was July, if I remember correctly. Guardians was May, Fast X was April, Spider-Verse, I think, was June. That's a foreign film that didn't count here. Wonka, I know, was December. The Wandering Earth 2, it didn't mean anything. Dead Reckoning was in the summer. Little Mermaid summer. No More Bets. Elemental. I'm looking here. I'm looking for something that came out. Aquaman was the only other major release in the holidays season, like December. Yeah, Hunger Games was November, but whatever. Based on these numbers, it would not have been. So this film, honestly, if they could have done it, should have come out last year. That's the truth. Because this year, it's just going to get completely hammered. Now, granted, like I said, the one place that this film can get its money back is the international market. Because right now it opened with 50 million international. Okay, whatever. But this is just opening week. The international could pick up. The international could have a real, like you could see selling 200 and some odd $1 million internationally. I'm not saying that's going to save its ass, but it could still work. Still, this is not a good look for this film at all. But you know what's a good look for a film? Another 7.3 million in its fourth week for Venom: The Last Dance. Now, it did still have the lowest weekend overall, or lowest opening for the Venom films. It is going to have the lowest box office at this point for the Venom films, but it crossed 400 million, 436 million worldwide. The international is still bringing a little bit to it, so this film's probably going to cap out somewhere between 450 and 470, which I think is where I predicted it at. It'd be lucky to see 500. It could, but we'd be lucky. But look, on a $120 million budget, probably about 80 in marketing. I still haven't found the actual marketing yet. It could be less, it could be more. But even if I highballed it to 200 or 100 in marketing, so 220, this film made its money back a while ago. This film is very much profitable. So, again, I keep asking this question and bringing it up, but it behooves us to ask this question. Where does this leave the Sony Spider-Verse? It doesn't leave it in the best state, like critically or fan reception wise, but it still leaves it open. It still leaves it able to continue. This isn't like with Morbius and Madam Web, where if those had been like the most recent ones, we would be in trouble. We would really be in a bad way. But we had Venom, then we had Morbius, didn't do so well, but then we had Venom 2. Which still made a lot of money. Probably would have made more if the pandemic wasn't going on. Then you had Madam Web, but now you got Venom 3, which is the lowest grossing, sure. But it is still profitable. So my only hope is they reevaluate when Kraven comes out, and hopefully Kraven's good, and hopefully it makes some money. They can reevaluate where they're at in their idea and think, okay, can we still do this here? Can we still use Null and all that here? Or are we going to, or should we like make a different deal with Marvel to kind of integrate our idea into the Marvel Spidey universe? Something like that. Personally, I think Null should probably be in the Marvel MCU, not just because I'd like to see him in the MCU and I want to see him in general, but also because the amount of characters you would need to combat Null, you do not have in the Sony Spider-Verse. Yes, there are other symbiotes still out there. It doesn't matter. There's nothing they could do against Null. Not right now, anyway. And then you can't introduce, like, the God of Light, the Enigma Force, just randomly, haphazardly in the Venom universe. You just can't do that. But it could make sense to do that in the Marvel universe because you have the Celestials. You have other superhero characters who could compete with them. You have Thor, all that. So, yeah, I think Null needs to be in the MCU more than he needs to be in the Sonyverse. He does. But still, Venom: Last Dance, doing well. It's making its money back, or it's made its money back now. It's just kind of adding on to that. I think we're looking at between 450, 475. That's going to be the end game for it, which is going to be, frankly, not as good as, Let There Be Carnage or even the original Venom. Or let me rephrase that: the original Venom or even Let There Be Carnage. But it's still a good enough number to still consider keeping the thing going. Again, Kraven's going to, I think, be the more deciding factor. If Kraven could come out and make maybe Venom numbers, because these films are made on relatively low budgets. It can make the same numbers as this film. We're still in business. It's just you're going to have to reshuffle some things. The best Christmas pageant ever! 19,900,000 some odd grand. So about 20 million. Which for a relatively low budget film, which this is not bad. If I remember correctly, it's made on like less than 10. My guess is you need about 30 million or so to break even, which it's looking like you can do it. It dropped to less than 50%, and we're getting into a more holiday festive time coming up. So maybe. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying it's probable either, but I'm not saying it's possible or impossible. Heretic, another really low budget film. No, this was the film I know was made on less than $10 million. And again, it's doing pretty well. 25 million? Yeah, that's good numbers. It's still going to be making some money. My guess is it's actually going to turn a little bit of a profit, and good for it. It's a cool, creepy, religious thriller questioning, raises questions. The creep factor. Hugh Grant owns that movie. Oh my god, he's so good in that movie. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm with it. I'm hip. By the way, real quick, as I've been saying, for what the top 10 looks like in terms of overall box office, the overall box office this week, let's see, 41, then 41, 46, for 51. Looks like we're about at almost 70 million this week for the box office, which is not bad. It could be better, but next week it's gonna, things are just gonna, crack off. The Wild Robot in our 4.3 million. It's crossed 300 million. Right on for it. It's crossed 300 million. I got hats off. There's nothing more I can say about it. It made its money back long ago at this point. It is now just raking in the profit. It's good that it rakes in the profit. Universal needs a couple wins this year because it's had some wins, but it's had some big losses too. Either way, good for it. Couldn't happen to a better film. Conclave in our 2.8 million. Another film that's quietly making a decent little amount of money, even though it's focus features. I think it's about 20 million for its budget, which makes sense. I think, but it's not going to be in the box office, end of year box office, so it's not that big a deal anyway. Let's see here. Hello, Love Again. Hello, Love Again. Was this an anime? Or after fighting for love to conquer the time. After fighting for their love to conquer the time, distance, and global shut. Okay, all right then, all right. I can't tell. The poster kind of makes it look animated, but who knows? A Real Pain gets expanded release, and it goes all the way to 2.3 million this week, making it 3.3 million. It's not going to be an Oscar contender, but it's not going to be a moneymaker, but it's designed more as an Oscar contender, from what I can understand. Oh, I forgot Smile 2. Missed you. Smile 2 made $2.9 million, making it 131.8. So about 132. That's right, about right. It's pretty done. It's run. It's going to maybe hit, if it's lucky, for 140 when it's all said and done. But it's pretty done. It's run. Otherwise, there's really just not much to talk about this week. What else we got? We got Transformers 1, 69 grand. It's long since done. That's a film that deserved better. That is a film that just deserves so much better. Beetlejuice made a little under $250,000, $1 million. It's pretty much done its journey as well. Here it had a wide release, and then it kind of just stopped its wide release, so there's that as well. Otherwise, it's really not that big of a weekend this weekend. The biggest things to talk about were Venom, were Red One. That's really about it. So this week, we got the 3 big releases. We got Bonhoeffer, Pastor Spy Assassin. That's probably not going to be in the top 5. And obviously you got Wicked and Gladiator. Now the question becomes, between these two giants, and make no mistake about it, based on the reviews both these films are getting, the word of mouth, and the hype I'm hearing about them, both these films are going to do well. Which one does better? And the answer is actually very clear. It's actually going to be very obvious. It's going to be Wicked. Why is Wicked going to be number 1? Because it's got a broader appeal. It's not rated R like Gladiator. It's right there. You capped yourself a little bit. But even though Gladiator is built off an established property, it's getting great reviews. Wicked is also getting great reviews. It's also built on established property, but it's a property that people have probably gone to see the stage plays for multiple times. It's based off The Wizard of Oz. It's family friendly. It's musical. It's light. It's airy. It's jumpy. It's bubbly. It's just got a family vibe to it that Gladiator definitely doesn't. Now again, that's not to say Gladiator won't do well. It's definitely going to be number 2. So you got Wicked, Gladiator. Red One will probably be number 3. I would be comfortable enough to say that I think Venom will be number 4 next week. Who gets the 5th spot though? That one's a good question. Because we're going to have to assume everyone's taking a big hit this week. Everyone's going to take a hit. Based on the numbers we got right now, I'm not going to lie. I think it might be Heretic that stays in the top 5. Why do I think that? Let's look at that, because it's basically going to be between Best Christmas Pageant and Heretic. I think that's the obvious answer here. But why do I think Heretic over the Best Christmas Pageant? Well, for starters, they gave Heretic more screens, first off. Best Christmas Pageant is going to actually compete with at least some of the same marketing or audience as Wicked is. So you're going to be losing from that. But beyond that, word of mouth helps with Heretic, I think, too. But beyond that, Heretic, well, I'm sure there are people who saw Heretic like me who will see Gladiator 2. Heretic is luckily into a genre of its own with all these films. It's a horror, thriller, suspense film. Gladiator is an action, epic, historical drama. Wicked is a fantasy musical story. Heretic's kind of in a little category of its own, and because of that, it's got an advantage over Best Christmas Pageant, where, yes, Best Christmas Pageant is a heartwarming kind of family based off a book story kind of movie. But that would lean more towards the Wicked vibe, or the Wicked crowd. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go Heretic. So, just to recap, Wicked, Gladiator 2, Red 1, Venom 3, and Heretic next week. Now, I could be dead wrong on this. There's a good chance I could be dead wrong on this. But, ultimately, that's where I'm going to put my prediction. It's a relatively short video this week because the box office is just kind of going in the motions at the moment. When next week, that's when we get the bombs dropping. Now, what these films are going to open up on, I have no idea. People are estimating 100 million plus for Wicked. I haven't heard what the speculation for Gladiator 2 is, but I imagine it could be at least above 60 million. So yes, actually, this could very much be the next Barbenheimer. We'll have to see, though. We will have to see. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you later.